introductions,
Yes,
and
Neha.
others are joining in.
Sure. So Neha, for my introduction is right now I'm working with SBI Card, and here my department name itself is a very, very unique name. It's called Center of Excellence for Training. Training is NFT training. It's NFT is a maybe very unique word to my department. I mean my organization, but you can say it's a training department which take care of the training of around 45,000 around people who SBI Card engages in their activity. And this training includes the entire gamut, right from when they get into the system and during the their entire stay in the system. There are all different points where we keep engaging with them in terms of capacity building, and then maintaining that capacity which they build over the period. So that way it's I mean, I also look at it's an excellent opportunity in terms of volume. The experiences which you get, it's phenomenal when you handle 45,000 people for continuous for their learning and capacity building.
Definitely, that's a huge volume where you are helping these employees grow. With the sort of L&D interventions which are relevant there. Great. So let's get a background of Sunil as well. Sunil, if you could just give a brief background.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Neha, for inviting me for this session. I head learning and development for an automotive component manufacturing group called Sandhar Technologies Limited. We are headquartered in Gurgaon, and we have now at present 41 units, out of which 38 are in India and 3 out of India. And we are having close to 8,500 people working for the organization. And coming to my background, so I am a mechanical engineer. I did my post-graduation in management, and then initial stint was there into sales. And during that stint, I somewhere realized that I have to be more inclined towards psychology and people making people grow in life. So I have a lot of liking for positive psychology, and that is how I carved my space into learning and development. I'm a certified coach from ICF, which is International Coaching Federation. I'm also an NLP practitioner, and I do a lot of reading on positive psychology. This is how I am so closely linked to learning and development, and I always see and love people growing and getting out of their comfort zone and doing something like. This is a brief about.
That's great, Sunil. And so you yourself have been in this domain since a long time, and I'm sure having and reading on those positive mindsets might have really helped you as well in motivating others as well. So hi, Pankaj. We have Pankaj also. So Pankaj, we're just going through a quick round of introduction. Also waiting for one more speaker to join in. So we have already had Man Singh with us. He is with SBI Cards and he heads the L&D there. We have Sunil with us, who heads the L&D for Sandhar Technologies. So Sumit, if you can just help us with a quick background, for all of us here.
Sure. Thanks, Neha. Glad to be here. I'm Sumit Mukherjee. I am part of Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. I head the sales training for the organization. Responsible for about 3.5 lakh people to be trained on an annual basis, which is kind of a nightmare, I can assure you. It is done through a variety of channels and mediums, and of course. There's been a lot of changes that we've had to incorporate over the last year or so to do that, and that kind of is part of the topic that we're going to discuss today. I have been with Bajaj Allianz for the last couple of years now. Prior to that, I was with Apollo Munich Health Insurance, where I was part of the L&D team, and then moved into a more core HR function for a while. Looked after the talent acquisition for the organization for 4 years before I moved back into training, which is where I have spent almost 15 years of my career has been spent over there. The balance is in sales and HR. So that's been the kind of background that I come from. Started with telecom, moved into the training and consulting industry, and then moved into insurance in 2003. Except for a brief 2-year stint outside, I have been in insurance since then. So it's been about
I think you have
17 years
a
in
pretty diversified background, Sumit, right? Where you have worked in different industries, in HR, L&D, and different, even sales as well, right? So,
yes.
So that's good. So we'll be happy to hear your thoughts going forward, right? So Pankaj, if you can have a quick round of introduction from your side.
I was just thinking, I just copy paste what Sumit has said, because incidentally, my background is similar to what Sumit has been talking about. Sumit, seriously, I mean, it's so copy paste, I have to say that, because I also represent sales training organization for AstraZeneca. The only difference is I don't train 3.5 lakh people, I train just 1,500 people. So I am responsible for a mid-sized organization. But yes, like you, I also started my career with sales and marketing, then moved into the training for some time, then went into people manager role, head oncology business unit, did marketing also, operations as industries like you, Chevron Lubricants, and Reliance Life Sciences, and eventually by default came back to the pharmaceutical industry again as a part of a training team. So yes, it's been a while with the training as well, maybe around 18 to 19 years of experience in training alone. But and by qualification now I'm also a HR professional, did my post-grad from XY Jamshedpur, and recently I did my PhD in human resources as well in 2017. So there we are. Looking forward to having some great conversation with all of you.
So yeah, thank you so much everyone for a quick background and introduction. We might have Bhaskar joining in from Amazon Development Center soon. We're just helping him with the link as well, but we'll just get started. So I think it's a pleasure to be here, and I would have not asked for a better panel than this today. We have learning and development veterans from different fields and industries, ranging from pharma to BFSI to auto, right? So really looking forward to exciting 1 hour of discussion and on such interesting and relevant topic, which is very in that how can really learning and development impact the road to recovery due to COVID, right? So welcome everyone, and thank you for taking out time on this panel today. Let's get started with a quick analysis on what's on the ground right now, and how has COVID second wave really impacted that badly to the Indian economy. Just before Pankaj and all, you joined in, me and Man Singh was having few discussions around that, almost 2.5 lakh cases is what we're getting registered every day. So due to this, things have changed fundamentally, right? And organizations and workforce and the employees, all of them are actually bind to change their mindset and work towards the current scenario, right? And employees need more newer skill sets to stay relevant in the industry. Their job roles are evolving, and a lot of changes are dynamically happening in this environment because of the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So Pankaj, if I can just get started with you to continue the thought here, right? So you've been an L&D specialist, handling sales training and heading that. So, if I talk about the pre-pandemic scenario, sales used to be a function of face-to-face meetings. We used to do a lot of extensive travel as well. I being a sales specialist from a background as well, being a strategy consultant by background. So earlier sales used to be that we have to do face-to-face meetings, we have to travel. Now things are shifting slowly and gradually to a virtual mode. So almost since a year now, if I look at, I haven't been to any physical meeting, and we've been really doing business as well, and we are things are going, right? So things have changed. So, pharma being one of the most disruptive, industry during this COVID times, what is your opinion, Pankaj, that how COVID has impacted the workforce skill set or the job roles within pharma and Astra? Just before you pick up that, we have Bhaskar as well joined in. Hi, Bhaskar. You're on mute.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry for being late. There's some issue.
So we have the other panelists here. We've had a quick round of introduction. Probably Bhaskar, if you can just in a minute or so, you can just quickly introduce yourself to the panel, and then we'll get started with Pankaj on a few of his thoughts.
Sure. So I work with Amazon currently for the last about 5.5 years, and I'm heading training and innovation for a team within Amazon, which is a global team of around close to 5,000 people. And before Amazon and overall, I have about 6+ years of experience working in various companies like E&G, Shell, Aditya Birla, Reliance Industries, and Walmart before I joined.
Great. So, welcome, Bhaskar, and thank you so much for taking out time for this panel discussion. So yes, Pankaj, getting back to you, we were discussing around that, how has COVID really impacted the workforce, within the pharma industry, which is now, I think one of the best performing industries so far. What's your take there? You're on mute, Pankaj.
I said it's a loaded question. You may not get a very straight answer, but let me make an attempt to convey what I want to convey. Well, we are the sunshine industry, like it or not, in the COVID time. Why? Because we're bringing innovation on the table in terms of vaccination, in terms of supplies to all the people lockdown time. A good year for us, where it has given a great deal of learning, like most of you. But what has changed dramatically is the same thing which you have said, that face-to-face meeting got disconnected on 17th of March last year, and we had no idea what to do. We don't know how to go about it. Because doctors were not ready to get connected virtually with us, and they have to come to my secure platform to make sure that we don't use the WhatsApp calls and all that, because WhatsApp or AstraZeneca is not a secure platform where I can share my confidential scientific data. I need to have a data problem game. Even if you make sure the doctor comes into my platform, I have to request him to download the app. On the app, he will come down, and then I have to educate him how I have to make the call with me. So what we did, not only to train our own internal field force on virtual connects, but we had to train the doctors as well to do the needful. Yeah. So something which is beyond our role. My role was only to confined to train my internal customer, but this is why we end up by training our external customers also on the virtual connect. Preparing them for virtual clinics also, how you can see the patient virtually, how you can talk to the patient phone or telephonically, how do you maintain the data digitally also. So it's a massive initiative as an organization we took to transform some bit of changes within the organization and outside the industry as well. And the result is very simple. First 4 months have been very bad for us. We were degrowing by 6%, 7% month by month, but and we did not have much connects. For example, as a rep, I'm supposed to make 10 calls a day in a very normal situation. Just hear the statistics. But this pandemic time, the 10 call become 2 calls, or 1.5 call, or 1.2. And we did not know what to do to bridge the gap of this 8 calls per day. Multiply by 1,500 people, you can imagine the arithmetic what I'm talking about. It was a massive blow on us on the productivity level. And our intent was, how do we make sure that doctors get connected again and again? And that's when the journey started. We made 100 calls in the very first month. Next month, we made 1,000 calls. Third month, we made 6,000 calls. And some point of time, we reached to 10,000 call mark in a month digitally. But yet, it was just 30% of my entire productivity. But having said that, the biggest advantage what we saw in this digital call, the length of the call went up very high. No offense, when you go to field, the doctor don't give you much time, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 1 minute at best. But in this virtual connect, we realized, wow, I was getting 15 minutes, 18 minutes, 25 minutes from a key opinion leader of the country. And that was a boon for us, which gives us a good feeling that do we really have to go back to the old fundamental of model of segmentation and targeting that I have to make so many doctors, so many calls I have to make, or do I really have to see the quality of call? That's something which all we have been aspiring for, but I think pandemic has given us a great deal of momentum. How you can inbuild the quality. Maybe you may have to throw the old business model back to the burner and try to figure it out how you can transform the entire industry more digitally. So we are in that cusp of the situation. I'll take a pause there because I have to give so many things later on also. But having said that, let me also welcome my other colleagues also to say what they want to say. But this is what has been our journey. A lot of pluses also.
Yeah, it has been very good. I think you've given both the pros and cons of how pandemic has changed the situation for the salespeople on ground for you, right?
Yeah.
So where the productivity or the number of calls getting converted were lower, but then the length and the quality of the calls did increase going forward. So, I want to know, Sumit, from you, right? You being a very similar background, and you've also been heading the sales training for Bajaj Allianz General Insurance, which is again, a mostly driven through physical meetings, right? So, how has pandemic changed the workforce skill set or the roles within Bajaj?
Well, it hit us very, very hard in the initial couple of months, to be very honest. As an organization and being, insurance as a setup, traditionally insurance has been always a push product. It has never been a pull kind of a scenario for anybody. Nobody, very few people actually seek out insurance unless there is a legal requirement to do so, like motor insurance, for example. It's hardly about, in our experience, hardly about 12% of the population actually seeks insurance. Rest are kind of pushed to buy it. And a lot of them do it for taxes, etc., which is also a question of a different nature altogether. And it has been traditionally bought face-to-face because it's a push product. So people have been going, barging into your offices and houses, boring you to death till you buy something. That's essentially the crux of the matter, very bluntly. But it had to change. It had to change drastically. Otherwise, it would have been a complete disaster. And what we realized very, very, very quickly is that as a general insurance company, we did have an advantage over other insurance companies, be it life insurance especially. We had an advantage, and the advantage was that we were selling health insurance. So from an organization point of view, our focus had been more on motor and engineering, fire, industrial products, or retail is motor. Health was never a very large portfolio for the organization. But we realized very quickly that this is the market that we need to tap because people were now really seeking out health insurance, right? So just a question of us being able to reach the final, end customer so that we are able to sell the product. And that became a bit of a challenge because, as I said, the sales people were also not used to, reaching out on a virtual platform. They were so used to connecting on a face-to-face basis. So we had to change the entire scenario of how do we approach customers on a virtual platform. So from a sales training perspective, that was one of the key, tasks which we had to perform on training people how to engage with customers online, or from a virtual platform kind of thing. And virtual selling is something that really became the in thing. Didn't have much of choice, but it was the only thing that we seem to have a lot of focus on. We spent our time, energy, efforts onto that. We incentivized virtual selling, wherein people were asked to, the way we did it was traditionally insurance would fill up a form and you would submit it and it would get underwritten. So we changed that by sending out links to the customer on their WhatsApp or SMS. And they could just fill up the details online through their mobile also. Simple form, just fill it up, submit it to us, and the case would get processed. The payment would also payment link would also get generated through there. The salespeople were incentivized to use more and more of that. And they were, in fact, incentivized in two ways. One is, of course, the incentive part of it, which is reward. The other was the stick, which was a minimum percentage of your sales has to be done through the link. The payment has to come through the link.
So like forcing them to use online platforms.
Yes, which let me assure you, with agents is very tough.
Okay.
Let me assure you that agents have a way of selling. They don't like disruption to that way of selling. They have been doing it for 18 years, 20 years. They don't like that disruption happening. So it was a very, very tough one. So that's why there was a carrot and a stick approach. So both were there. So it worked. It worked to a large extent, to the extent that by June last year, 72% of our sales were happening through that medium. So we had internally targeted 75%, so we missed it by a bit. But 72% is not bad in our own.
Yeah, definitely.
You're considering it was zero just 2 months before that.
So I think pandemic has brought in those changes, transformed the mindset of a lot of people as well. Right?
Yes,
and
yes.
Definitely. So, what has been your read of the market, Bhaskar? Right? You've been from the tech industry. So talk to us about how has COVID impacted that set of workforce, and the job roles within your, technology industry?
So, and I was hearing the two stories from the sales field, and for us, the experience has been very different. On one side, actually, there has been a deluge of business. I mean, you know that e-commerce has been such. This has been a year where the growth has been phenomenal for various reasons, which we would not have liked. And that does put a lot of pressure on our people, on our fulfillment centers, on our back office, and that at a time when we had to write new SOPs because of the change situations, the safety regulations, and how we manage people within the fulfillment centers, our last mile people who go to the houses to deliver. So a lot of changes that were happening internally in terms of the SOPs itself. And these people need to be trained, because any mistake that they do creates multiple issues, which are mostly legal. I mean, Amazon could be banned in that area from delivering if they don't follow those protocols. So it was very important that everyone had to be trained in a very short time on all these protocols and SOPs. That was one side of it. The other side of it is that people who are working in the office, in the tech teams, the analysts, the agents, all the different roles that are there in the office, right? And for them, the challenge was more around how do we onboard new people. For example, their onboarding became a huge problem for us. Now, earlier, a new person would come, join in the office, would be given assets that they have to collect, right? They meet all the people, and then they get regularized. But now this person is joining offline, somewhere remote place, right? Now you have to reach these assets to those people on day one. You have to get them started, get onto our network. That becomes a huge task. How do you get onto a VPN without being in the office? But all these things which are more administrative in nature, teething issues, and training had to work around all of those, because training gets impacted because of all of these things. If you don't have a laptop, how will you get trained virtually? You may have a laptop, but you're still not on VPN. That's a problem. You don't have access to many of the internal sites. You can't work. You don't have access to tools that you're supposed to work on. So all these things did take a huge toll. I think it took some time, almost about 5-6 months time for the organizations to get organized in these areas, put things in place, create workarounds. I think most of them are settled that way. In terms of productivity for us, productivity didn't get hit, because most of our work anyway was happening virtually. It was not like our people need to be physically there, like in case of a pharma or in case of an insurance, where the physical presence becomes important. For us, the physical presence is only the last mile, where our person has to go and deliver at the home, but rest of everything is happening virtually. So that wasn't a huge problem for us. The bigger problem was on the new hire. How do we get them assimilated into the organization? Training had to play a big role there. The other part was that the entire work from home, while it seems very easy, it was very taxing for people, because the kind of connectivity that you had earlier, where you could just walk up to a person and start talking to him or solve your problem, can't happen now. Now you have to set time for that. You have to fix a meeting to have that kind of discussion. And that meant that people almost had back-to-back meetings throughout the day. And that 8 hours usually became about 11 hours, 12 hours for people. And then there's no start or end time. You're at home, and you're probably some people who don't have a separate room or a table and all. They are working on a sofa or a bed. And for them, it's like they're working 24 hours. How do they create balance in their entire thing? How do you avoid stress? How do you manage your work from home? These are the areas which became more important for us. One is the assimilation of people into the organization in a remote way. And then it was about how do we provide them access to all the tools and technologies that they can use from home. And third was how do we help people to balance their work life even while working from home. These were the three areas where I felt we had to focus quite a lot in these.
So I think Bhaskar, you very rightly said one side of the story where, all the employees who are working from home, who are still working from home, what sort of challenges do they face, and kind of productivity levels, the mixing up of the work-life balance, and things have gone for a toss. So Sunil, you have been on the other side of it, right? Where, still the employees in the auto sector have been going to offices even during these tough times, right? We've heard that, these employees definitely have low productivity levels. Motivation is lower on this case because surely, they understand the scenario where they're going in. So, how have you been tackling this scenario? And do you think L&D getting on the front foot will really help things change for a betterment there, Sunil?
Absolutely, yes, Neha. As you rightly said, manufacturing means the moment a national lockdown is over, everybody has to be on the shop floor. Yeah. And coming to manufacturing, initially all learnings were either on the job or machine or on the shop floor, or typically a classroom setup. Now, making people comfortable when they're joining after a national lockdown without any anxiety. People have moved to their native, they were coming back, there were a lot of fear, anxiety in them. So making them understand that organization taking care of all protocols is a much safer place for them rather than them sitting in a small locality. So which slowly they also recognize, but yes, L&D and HR, they played a very important role in making people realize this, that yes, you have to be back on the shop floor and on the unit and on manufacturing facility for working on a regular basis. And yes, that daily briefing them and a daily learning for them was a great source of motivation for them. Second part, which really helped us in terms of staff and employee was overall the learning quotient got up. So what we realized is that during this pandemic and during this lockdown, everyone, they were very keen on learning, which was early only a push from the HR or from L&D. It was somewhere coming from their end to having keenness on learning something new. So I remember, being a person of my age, I remember our parents used to tell us that work hard for some years and then you will enjoy for the rest of your life.
Definitely.
Now that was a very that was a very tricky thing. Now we grown up with that particular thing, and then we realized also when we got into job that you only learn once, and once you have done few degrees, then rest of your 30 years you have to keep on working without doing anything. To break that notion in your mind, to break those preconceptions, prejudices are very difficult, and this pandemic really helped us in breaking those notions. And people realize that they are happier when they are growing and developing. And this growing and developing comes from learning. So they actually learn how to learn. That was very important for us. And that is how the learning quotient improved. And the model which we have seen outside in other countries is people that travel from vocational skill to graduation, and then there is a pathway to post-graduation. So they spend a couple of years before they move into the next level. Whereas in our country, it is not like that. So we finish every educational level, and then we go and we try to work in an organization. And we never realize that upskilling is also something which will help us in growing in our life. So this pandemic has really brought this every individual, making them realize that upskilling and growing in their life will come from somewhat learning which will happen. And as I said, if from a push from L&D, it became democratized for the entire organization, where everybody was saying that let's do it together. Let's do it for our more growth, for productivity of department and organization, which helped the individual as well as organization in becoming more productive, and then becoming in a growth mindset, seat of growth mindset.
That's really interesting to know, Sunil, from that angle of manufacturing, that how these employees have themselves started, getting into the mode of learning, which has, I think, to a certain extent also enhanced their engagement levels, the feel that, yes, they're learning, they're growing something, they're kind of learning new things. So definitely, this pandemic has brought in a lot of new ways of our, thought process in different level of people, is what I'll say. Right. So, Man, coming to you, what is your opinion on, how do you think that, L&D can really help in the role of recovery because of this pandemic and due to this pandemic?
Oh, that's, let me take it that way, Meha, when initially you asked. Actually, I look at these two, the first time pandemic, which hit us last year, and the second wave, which now we are calling it second wave. I mean, though, really wave was never off from our back in last 1 year, but yes, the sudden increase in the number, which we are calling it second wave. Let me share you our experience of first time. So I will try to bring in my some knowledge on whatever we through real life experiences, and this is some are processing those thoughts, those information which are available in black and white. Last time when the lockdown hit us, incidentally, I won't say that we were preparing for this kind of lockdown. We were preparing for this sort of pandemic, because no one would ever imagine, in those who we all are in our working life, that we will ever hit a pandemic like this in our professional life. Even I'm sure most of the organization in even their BCP document wouldn't have captured this scenario. All they would have captured is that, okay, if you cannot work from one location, then you can work for another location. Yeah. So when we hit the pandemic last time, instantly my organization, I'm sure other organizations also we have, but we were kind of, a bit digitally ready as far as learning and development is concerned. If I look at a product, learning and development as a product, then probably we were far more ready for handling it digitally compared to our core product to handle it digitally. So that's a different story which we can connect. So what will happen is, since we have an internal app which is available on mobile phone, we call it mGurukul. So this is a mobile-based learning app through which we engage with our workforce who are our target audience to train. So when we hit the pandemic last time and suddenly everyone was homebound, again in that crisis, what we realized, the need as well as opportunity is that while these forces cannot go out, but mobile is the one, something is available anyway, we were connected with them, but they were investing, training time only on that one. Rest of the core activity was to acquire the business or go for the customer onboarding. So now they had a free time because of lockdown. And we felt that if this lockdown, which nobody knew at that time how long this will go. So in that crisis, what we identified, the need or opportunity, as we may call it, that if we can continue to, engage with them in terms of, even if it's a repetition of knowledge in more innovative and challenging way, so they are more engaged, then whenever the lockdown is opening, they will be ready from the word go. That's the thought process kicked in. And this 45,000 workforce, we continuously engage with them through that channel, which we incidentally had available, which we were using it for training purpose, but we didn't know that this is going to help us in that way. And this really helped. we could sustain, because, you know, with the change of inertia, sometimes it takes time. I mean, I used to say to my team that, you know, it's like a analogy wise, if you look at the blast furnace for any manufacturing company, once for any steel industry it's puts off, then it takes time to, again, if you want to start it and, you know, put it on. So here it's very important that we maintain that inertia, even though regulation wise we have stable. So it was a kind of festival for the team to keep engaging on that app, and around that other things came in, you know, WhatsApp and Google Doc and all this. But idea is digitally we could engage this workforce with that speed that they didn't get rusty during that period. And the moment it opened up, they were up on the running from the word go. And that's why we could catch up with our productivity point in an expeditious manner. And that is something the organization noted also with a lot of satisfaction.
That makes sense.
Overall, yes. And you're a lot of people from your side, you are one of, you know, our valuable partners. So they would tell you that how they got engaged during that period. However, if you look at, you know, this is my individual experience of our own organization. Overall, the pandemic last year taught us, I mean, there was some sort of in around working from home. It was never, you know, accepted. We as a human couldn't accept this, even in the most, you know, technologically advanced economy and country. Work from home as the core thing, as the mainstream thing. It was always considered as a work-life balance, a privilege to employee to be given to work from home.
I think the things
but this is where the radical shift.
Said, right? Initially,
absolutely.
You know, work from home was a side thing, but now things have reversed. Yeah. Now companies are looking at permanent work from home as an option. Probably employees can come once or twice in a week as and when required, right? So that has certainly changed, right? So
completely
I think,
thought process.
Definitely. So I would, you know, kind of do a little bit of change in the gear and get back to Pankaj, you know, where we started with. So Pankaj, you know, have you seen, you know, the L&D budgets getting shrink or increased during the COVID times? Because you told us that how your salespeople, you know, have moved to an online platform there. They are kind of connecting with doctors and the, you know, experts there through online call, where their time duration has increased, but the number of calls getting converted decreased. So how has that scenario of COVID impacted your L&D budgets? I mean, have you seen an increase or a shrink there in the pharma side or within your organization, Pankaj?
No, no doubts it has shrunk, and for rightful reason, obviously. And I'm not complaining, actually speaking. I don't conduct any more that face-to-face onboarding, you know, the meetings for 10 days, 15 days, making people stay in the hotels and all that. That whole money has been, like it or not. But yes, we are investing the same amount of money in something else, like hardware, software, the new tools and technology. I've got almost a new content lab ready with me, where we're generating a new content on weekly to, you know, fortnightly. We can tell you why. Because people have got fatigued to the virtual learning platforms also. I'm sure all my dear esteemed colleagues can also say, I think we've been pushing a lot of hard LMS data, ye kar lo, wo kar lo, another Zoom meeting you should attend. But people have developed a fatigue. They need something else. The same of training programs, what we did last year, this year, it won't fly. That's also the reality of life. And that's the reason we are getting some inspiration from OTT platforms. I just give you one data for the benefit of all. We realized during a pandemic time, even though people were complaining, I'm attending so much of work from the office, as a trainer, I'm conducting so many sessions, yet every individual in India is investing 2 hours a day on any of the OTT platform. Netflix of Learning, Amazon, Hotstar, which means no matter what, how busy I am with my household work, I'm also boiling the milk also, I'm attending a session, also conducting a session, yet I'm taking 2 hours a day to invest on something called Hotstar or Amazon. So we realize people need entertainment at any point of time. And if they get 2 hours every day, why can't we do in training? So we brought the concept of edutainment. I repeat again, education and entertainment combined together, edutainment. So we are converting our content, traditional way of looking into bite-sized learning. In a very OTT platform with a lot of movie clips, with a lot of videos on that, and each episode of that does not last for 2.5 to 3 minutes. And the entire series is meant for 5 to 6 episodes. Yani ki you have to invest only 10 to 15 minutes to complete a show. And we are saying, look, don't do it just like that whenever you feel like. And we're also having so-called social networking with them. And we're also getting IBDM rating from them, 7.8, 8.8 series. So it started off very well. And we have given a very cool name called Netflix of Learning, called NOL. So we are experimenting it this year with the 2 series, and we got a great response. We got an NPS of 78% among all the 1,000+ employees. And now they're looking at what more we can do. And we're also working on, I'll take another 30 seconds though. We're also working on tomorrow, let's say by the end of the year, if I've got 30, 40, 50 series with me, then the platform also what we have, which can also have an AI system. It can recommend to you, yeah, this is what the series you should go through, looking at your IDB details. Or month, this is what the program you should revisit again in case you want to see it again. So we are working on that platform because we have realized no more Zoom meetings, no more that long 45 minutes, 1 hour e-learning content. People generally have, trust me. So this is one area which I am very passionate about in 2021. The rest we look forward to how it goes on.
That's super interesting to know, Pankaj, how you've been utilizing those bite-sized and bit-sized learning and helping employees converting education or learning into entertainment. That's very interesting, and they can have that AI enabled feature, which can kind of the right recommendation that what sort of learning is really relevant for them. So that's quite an innovation is what I see in the learning and development space, where you're not pushing something while the employees themselves, can have a look at it whenever they want to, whenever they have their own sweet times.
But we're doing a lot of tamasha, by the way. We are making a teaser, we are making a trailer release. It's just like a typical Avenger movie.
Oh, awesome. So you're doing it internally or?
Yeah, all internally. We have got ad board members also with us, which are people taken from the field. There are 13 numbers. So they decide. They have all the brain waves better than us. We believe in building a content. They believe in how you can merchandise the content. So this is how the journey has started. And it's been 2.5 months, 3 months, honestly speaking, too early to comment on. It's a successful model, no. But the initial response has been fabulous, all I can say.
That's really great. So Sunil, if I talk about the non-technical skills, I'm sure that there are a lot of technical, skills which we were talking about the other day as well in the auto sector, which is mandatory for the employees to really go through, and it's really important and like a part and parcel of their work which they do. But then if I talk about non-technical skills and training, so have you seen L&D budgets in the auto sector, especially in your organization, getting increased or shrink, and what has been your strategies there?
Yeah, that's a good question, Neha. As you rightly said, in auto industry or any manufacturing industry, people are more inclined towards technical training, whether it is audits or control, whether it is industrial safety or machine learning, technical trainings related to machines, quality parameters, production. And with this pandemic and then post-pandemic, these training budgets have really increased. It was very good to see that. And there was a overall perspective being increased from the learners. Earlier, people who were only very, very narrowly seeing technical training as their now they are doing a lot of courses on soft skills, a lot of courses on behavioral skills, a lot of courses on well-being. And they ask for these courses from the L&D team. If we organize any, say when we have asked a kind of a training need from individuals, so you will not believe mindfulness was the first preference for many people after the pandemic. Earlier, nobody used to say, and people were used to run from meditation. When you say meditation, they say, we will not be able to do this. This is something which is very difficult. But now everybody is very keen in looking mindfulness as something which will relieve them from a lot of anxiety. And then it will make them a little more relaxed and then more focused on whatever they are doing. And then plus we have done one more thing is earlier the sessions which were very, very long and earlier the sessions which were only instructor driven. So suppose if a blue collar person is joining a unit and a person has to train that individual. Now that was also a challenge every time to get a supervisor training a new person joining. So that was a fight between production person joining the shop floor. Now, what we have done is we have got into micro learning, and we have made small learning courses, bite-sized learning courses for all those processes. And now a person, when he joins, we give him a system, and they are done in regional languages. So a person see that particular video, micro learning video, practice that for n number of times, and then when he becomes really confident and skillful, then he is being pushed to the line or to the manufacturing facility or to the shop floor for taking the lead. So that is where we have upgraded and moved into a blended approach from only a classroom kind of approach. And then in that particular overall approach, LMS has played a very important role. So we have Oracle implemented for ERP in HR. So we have taken LMS from Oracle, and then it has helped us in pushing a lot of programs, a lot of courses, a lot of e-material to people reading them. And then we may have made them a game kind of a thing, where if we are pushing them a small literature to read, then we are also pushing a small assessment, and then we are incentivizing that assessment. If somebody is doing good, we are sending them goodies. So it is making learning very interesting and very engaging.
Yeah, I think blended learning model, and then you also mentioned, regional language support. I think it really helps employees connect better, where you have a mix of a platform like an online platform and through instructor-led training. I think great insights there, Sunil. So I'll go to Man now. So Man, so how has things been in BFSI, right? In terms of the L&D budgets, has that increased, shrinked for your employee trainings? What have you seen within the BFSI sector?
Neha, let me put my take on this way. There is a psychology, human psychology, and organization is not different than the human. It says when you see the danger, then there is an adrenaline rush, and the two emotions which gets triggered is either fight or flight. So right now for organizations looking at this danger, the emotion is to fight, of course, because flight is not the option. While the decision is to fight, I would say budget increasing or decreasing, the focus is on optimizing the resources. Maybe in the normal time, the thrust, the emphasis on, so minutely optimizing the resources, it may get diluted when your times are good. But since it is a really tough time, so more focus is on the resource optimization. Having said the resource optimization, at least from our organization perspective, if we look at it, we are in no way, allowing any dilution in the standard of learning and development. So that way, the standards are kept intact. But in terms of cost optimization, if comparatively we can see, then in real time, suppose if somewhere we have expense of 100, optimizing it by 5 or 10%, so that is there. But other than that, if after optimization you need money, then I think organizations are keeping their purse tight but open if it is really required.
Okay.
But the emphasis is on this, that the identified learning must take place. And for that one, the digital channel, which is to be leveraged more, there the choice to, the choice to make is, are we going immediately or are we going in a phase-bound manner? That is something we are dealing with it. But overall, budget-wise, I don't see any major reduction apart from optimizing the resource which is available.
Definitely, I think that's the need of the hour as well. So I think looking at the time, and we're short of it already. Just one last question for Bhaskar and Sumit. So where do you foresee L&D getting transformed during and the post pandemic era? Concluding thoughts on this.
Right. So I think, as your title says, L&D, will it be at the forefront? I think it will be, because there's a change happening, and then whenever there's a change, certainly L&D has to play a big role in that. Technology certainly is making big inroads into training, and as actually we were hearing other panelists also speak, the bite learning, micro learning, different ways in which you are experimenting with e-learning. Technology is certainly making big inroads, and I also feel that in the coming times, artificial intelligence is coming into training, which is still at a very, very nascent stage, but experimentation has started, and in coming years, you'll see a lot in that area also. So I think technology is a big changer coming into L&D now. That's my view.
How about you?
I completely agree with Bhaskar on this matter, that technology is going to be a game changer. It has already changed quite a bit of the scenario. I'll actually take a leaf out of what Bhaskar said and kind of borrow it and take it further. You're right. A lot of experimentation is actually happening on the AI front as far as learning technology is concerned. There is a unique proposition with which one of my earlier contacts came to me on an AI-based learning platform, and we are trying to get into a POC on that one right now. And if it works out, I can assure you this is going to be a complete game changer in the learning industry, because it's going to transform the way that people perceive online or digital learning in itself. It's got it's proprietary for him, so I can't divulge much, but it's got a very unique interactive platform which is there in place, which will auto customize as per the learner, and I mean auto customize as per the learner, individual learner, not as per a group of learners or on the basis of something which is going to happen by past experience. It is going to be a real-time customization really happening. So that's something that is very interesting. POC pending, so we'll definitely
definitely. I mean, these thoughts are very much in line to even what I think that technology will be the game changer going forward in L&D, right? And the way it has happened in the OTT platform as well. With now, why has so much of engagement levels increased in a platform like Netflix and Amazon? Pankaj was also talking about. It's more about the artificial intelligence which they've kept in place, the way they recommend the content, for the kind of audience to really go to it, right? So that's the change. And L&D, once that becomes more engaging with the learner, and they themselves, are keen in learning, is when that revolution will certainly arrive. So I think, keeping in mind we're just on time, thank you so much, everyone. I will kind of wrap it up here. I really appreciate your time, and thanks for sharing all the inputs so candidly. And I've myself has had a very huge, learning through this session as well. So looking forward to catch up more offline. And thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you,
Thank
Neha.
you a lot. Thank you.
Stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Thanks to all panelists.
Thanks, Neha. Thanks.
Thanks for
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.